Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Listen, I just got done watching I know I got my glasses on my head instead on my face because it's like, I don't know if it's going to be sunny or not. It's like it's halfway sunny, but then it's like really cloudy. So it looks like we're going to get some rain over here in Florida. Okay, you going to come or you going to go? I'm driving, y'all. I'm tired. My sinus is acting up again. Oh my gosh! If I could just open up my head and blow the snot out my head. Right. Craziness. So my sinuses are acting up again. Sinus headache, sinus pressure. Oh, this inclement weather. But yeah, we were just watching and I know I said a couple videos back I was going to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it for a few minutes this morning because I feel like sometimes we got to make it make sense. You got to make it make sense. Some stuff that's going on, some stuff that's happening don't make no sense, but you need to make it make sense, right? So we just got done watching the live on the Diddy trial, right? And we've been watching back and forth a lot of different people with their opinions. You know, people saying, oh, he's a this and he's a that and blah, 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 blah. And he had about 5 counts. You know, and the big one was the whole racketeering, you know, saying that he was the head of a criminal organization with all this sex stuff and everything. It was like a whole organization, and he was like the head, you know, the head of the criminal organization. And that he was running it. I mean, it was crazy. So they was trying to get him on a whole. Now, I know you see me coming through this parking lot. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm driving. And the people, like, she just going to run into me. I'm over here going to the store. But anyway, so, like, he the head of a criminal organization for the whole, like, he run the sex trafficking criminal organization, right? Which I kept saying, no, you ain't. Said I know some people may not agree with my opinion today. This is my opinion, but I said no, we ain't. I said what had happened is I feel, in my opinion, that the girl Cassie was with it from day one. Okay, that's how him and her really connected because she was with the whole swinging situation, right? And to me, what I saw was that they was having, they called them freak offs. I call them orgies. Been going on for centuries, right? And to me, when I began to really look at it, you know, I started thinking about the guy, Hugh Hefner, right? With the Playboy bunny mansion. Everybody wanted to be a bunny. And I'm sure if we went back into the archives, you'll find some people that came from other states and other places to be in that mansion to do what they was doing in the Playboy mansion. I'm just tell it what it is, right? And so I started seeing what he was doing was very comparative to that, even though Diddy did a lot more. Okay, he was way above what you after what I was doing. But again, too, in these circles, in these parties, and these are things that happen all the time in the industry and stuff like that. You know, this is, you know, but his parties was, you know, Diddy parties were definitely over the top. Yeah. Never been to one, never going. And then you had some celebrities, you know, and here's my other thing, too. You know, you had some celebrities that went there and stayed for a few minutes and said, like, this ain't for me, like Cat Williams, this ain't for me, you know. I even think, what's the other dude name who was married to Kim Kardashian? Oh, my God, the one that did the Jesus with the line of Jesus sandals. What's Kanye West? He went for a little bit and left. You know, I feel like people, you know, it's just like if a person, oh, I know that such and such having a party, girl, you need to come to this party. I feel like a lot of people knew that there was going to be sex at the parties, there was going to be drugs at the parties, there was going to be, you don't tell, I don't tell. It's almost like they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, that kind of situation. And I feel like a lot of people knew it was going to be some stuff happening at these parties. Now, to a level and extent of how it happened, what was happening, I wasn't there, and I ain't trying to get too deep into all this, but he was found guilty on only 2 things. They couldn't get him on that whole racketeering thing, which I kept saying, I don't see racketeering. They couldn't get him on the coercion of trying to make people do certain things, because everybody there was a consenting adult. They came to the party free willy, They knew what it was about, and especially even like the workers, they knew what they was coming for. So the only thing they was able to really find him guilty on out of the 5 was the having the people come across state lines for the whole prostitution and all that stuff, because when you're paying us, prostitution, and the reason why they was able to find him guilty on those two counts was because of the receipts, the airline flights, the credit card payments and stuff like that. So that's what they got him on. But all that other buffoonery, I said no. That girl was with it. They were swingers. They were having orgies. Even her text messages were very, very detailed how she was about that life. And I just felt like, is it right? Is it wrong? I'm not judging nobody. I'm not into that. That's what they into. Let God be their judge on that, because we know it's immoral. A lot of that stuff was very immoral and stuff like that. But at the same time, I felt like some of that stuff they was trying to get him on didn't make sense. It didn't make no sense to me. I kept saying, I don't see that. I don't see that. But, like I said, they got him guilty on the 2 things, which was the, the people traveling back and forth to come to these little parties of prostitution. But, I think that it was a fair verdict, in my opinion, because I didn't see racketeering. I didn't see him forcing people. Because let me tell you something. You can't really now, I never saw where he held a gun to nobody's head and said, you better do this sex act, you better do this, you better do that. None of that. They was with it. People was getting paid. People knew what they was coming for. They knew the parties were going to be wild. So, in my opinion, the Queen's opinion, I feel that he was charged fairly on the things that he did. That whole racketeering and coercion and making people do stuff, I ain't see none of that. I just, that's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I didn't see none of that, and I just feel like sometimes you got to make stuff make sense. So, a friend of mine today sent me a beautiful, little, kind of like, hey girl thing. And she sent me this thing about how we going to move and how we going to go through July. And the first one was, and she spelled out the word July, it says, we're going through July this way. We're going just as I am, because I am enough. The U stands for unbothered, unshaken, and undeniably blessed. Hey, that part. The L stands for letting go of what no longer serves. And then the Y is yielding to peace and not pressure. We want peace, and I told you before, peace will be still, in my Medea voice. Yeah. And I'm out here in these streets trying to get, now look, see, I told you I didn't know whether I should do the shades or not, and look out the window. It's already raining. I didn't even need the shades today. But yeah, I feel like it was I think it was fair in the verdict, in my opinion. Again, some of y'all don't like, because y'all felt like, oh, he needs to do 1 million years. I don't know, because here's the thing: all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And I feel like for what the whole situation was, he was charged fairly. Because you got to, pay due, for what you did and stuff like that. But, yeah, I think it was fair. That's my opinion. I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. None of those things, So, but to me, it makes sense. Some of the stuff in the case didn't make sense, but I think it's making a lot of sense today. And a lot of people wanted to see him, hurt severely, because they were trying to come up on his pain. And that's the thing. A lot of people sometimes, they like to see you down, they like to see you hurt. And I'm not condoning none of what he did. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not condoning none of his actions, none of what he did. The whole situation was crazy to me, but that's a whole nother story. But a lot of times people like to really, they get down when they see you down. They love it. They get down and celebrate. When I say get down, I'm talking about like celebrate. They love to see you hurt. They love to see you in pain. They love to see you going through. They get off on your demise. They get off on your pain, your suffering, and gloating and wishing and hoping that things happen to you. And then sometimes, and people feel like they getting over on you. They, people have done things and feel like, oh, I got her. Oh, I'm going to show her. Or I'm going to show him, right? But let me tell you one thing about karma. People call it karma, and I call it the law of sowing and reaping. Because whatever you sow, you're going to reap. So the moment you think you got over on me, or you think you getting over on somebody else, best believe the thing that makes you laugh today may make you cry tomorrow. So you got to be careful with how you think toward people. Wishing and praying and gloating on their demise and stuff like that. That's not right. But I'm telling you, the law of sowing and reaping is so true. Like I said, some people call it karma. It's the law of sowing and reaping. What you reap, you're gonna sow. You think you're getting over today? Trust me, boo. You ain't get over. You think you did. And it's okay to think that way. A lot of people think a lot of things, but you ain't get over. Not even a little bit. Now look at this, the sun trying to come out through the rain. I wish I could. I cannot. I need to wait a minute till the rain starts to get that car, but it's like raining and the sun is peeking out over there. Bipolar weather, Florida. But you gotta make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. People feeling like they just, oh my God. I done heard some situations. Even early this week, we on Wednesday, and I done heard about some stuff this week, and I done seen some stuff. People really feel like they done got over. Oh, got him. You ain't get him, but you gonna get God. Keep playing. Keep playing. You keep playing. You gonna get God, thinking you got over on somebody else. So you got to be careful with that. My mother-in-law always say, stand still. When you think you're hurting somebody, you think you're doing something to somebody, stand still. And if you're wondering why, nothing really going successful for you, because you right here trying to get people. You always trying to do the got him. Oh, I got her, I got him. You gonna learn one way or another. One way or another. And a lot of times too, because people don't like to see you blessed. They don't like to see you come up. They don't like to see you thrive. They want to see you down and out. So make it make sense, y'all. But we're going to go through July. Even with this rain, we're going to go through July unbothered in peace and prosperity. Somebody say peace and prosperity. Your foolishness is not my foolishness. Your burdens are not my burdens. You better take them to the Lord in prayer. Okay? Your burdens are not my burdens. Your situation is not my situation. It may be urgent, but it may not be important. Or it may be important, it may not be urgent. So this month, we choose to make it make sense, y'all. We choose to make it make sense. And if it don't make sense, that's a red flag. If you got somebody in your life that's 10 toes with you, down for you, and they prove themselves that they with you all the way, cool, that's a keeper. But if you got somebody that when the going gets tough, how you say the tough get going, that's a red flag. That's an opportunist. As long as you up, you flowing cash and stuff, throwing money their way, they good with you. But the moment you $2 short, they got a problem. That's a red flag, y'all. That's a red flag. I'm saying I've been hearing some crazy stuff. Even in the last 3 days, I've been hearing crazy stuff. So I said I gotta come on and talk to people this morning because, like I said, I prayed for Diddy. I did. I prayed. I said, Lord, you are the righteous judge, and it's on you. How this thing gonna come out? But in my opinion, I feel like it was a fair sentence because I didn't feel like all the other stuff they was trying to put on him wasn't happening because everybody there was consenting adults, even the workers. Everybody was consenting. They knew what they was coming for, and they knew they was coming to do, and they was all about it. I'm just saying. So, but anyway, that's my opinion today on this rainy, sunny Wednesday in Florida. I'm for real, sunny, rainy Wednesday because the sun is out. There it is, and it's raining at the same time. Bipolar Florida weather. But y'all be blessed. Y'all stay easy. Remember, we're going through July. Unbothered, peace, and prosperity. We're going to do it. We got this. More to come. Bigger, better things to come. We're going to keep pushing. We're not going to let foolish. We're going to look at foolishness and go, not today, devil. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever, actually. But we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep moving. And you guys follow me. Follow me not only on my page, but definitely hop on over to my business page or KNG TV Network. Follow me on KNG because we have some cool and exciting things coming out. And I want y'all to know what's going on because we got some stuff coming for you. Listen, it's going to be funny and crack. Okay? And some of it's good, too. A lot of cool stuff. But y'all follow me on KNG TV Network Facebook page. IG, follow your girl, see what's going on. All right, y'all take care. Have a good one.